Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at some really complex and subtle feelings.
Mm.
The kind of feelings that you get in quiet moments. Those deep longings or moments of peace that we usually just brush off.
We do. We'll just say something vague like, I feel weird, or, oh, I'm content.
Exactly.
And we tend to think that if a feeling is universal, there must be a simple word for it in English. But what we're looking at today shows that's not always the case.
And there's a real cost to not having the right words, isn't
The
there?
huge cost. If you can't name a feeling precisely, you can't really analyze it, you can't understand it, and you certainly can't act on it.
So that's our mission today. We want to give you, the learner, a vocabulary that feels almost like a superpower. To give a proper name to what your heart is trying to tell you.
Right. We're diving into three very specific words that help articulate feelings across, well, three huge dimensions of consciousness: time, space, and spirit.
And those three words are Anemoia, Fernweh, and Elysian.
They give real texture to these feelings of longing and bliss. It's about moving from, a fuzzy idea to something crystal clear.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with Anemoia. It's a word that deals with time, but in a very, very strange way. So our first word is Anemoia. That's spelled A-N-E-E-M-O-I-A.
Anemoia.
It's a noun. And it basically describes this very real sense of nostalgia for a time that you've never actually lived through.
Which is so interesting because it kind of flips our usual idea of nostalgia on its head, doesn't it?
It does. How so?
Well, nostalgia is usually tied to your own memories, right? Things that actually happened to you. But Anemoia hooks into cultural memory. Things like old photos, films, stories.
So it manufactures a feeling of loss for a time you never actually had.
It manufactures an emotional deficit. That's a great way to put it.
I think I felt this. I was listening to some old 1930s jazz the other day,
Right.
and I felt this sudden pang, this ache. Like I actually missed the elegance of that time, even though I know logically it was a really difficult era for most people.
That is the perfect example. The sources we looked at say this isn't just you appreciating an old style, it's your mind performing a trick.
A trick.
Yeah, they call it simulated memory. Your imagination is just so good at taking all these inputs, like the graininess of an old photo or the music you heard, and it creates an emotional response that's usually reserved for a real loss.
And it's always for the romanticized version of the past.
Always.
Nobody's feeling anemoia for, the era of cholera outbreaks.
Exactly. It's for the age of steam trains and handwritten letters. It's that feeling you get looking at some cool vintage travel poster.
Which is so relevant today with social media and
I
everything.
know, absolutely. Think about how many industries are basically selling anemoia: vintage fashion, historical dramas, marketing for simpler times. They are all selling a longing for an idealized past that, frankly, never existed.
So if you can name that feeling, if you can say, this is anemoia, you get some power back.
You do. You get a psychological advantage. Instead of just feeling vaguely unhappy with the present, you can recognize what's happening.
You can say, I'm just romanticizing a historical aesthetic. It's not a real problem I need to solve.
It gives you distance. It helps you know when you're actually seeking historical context versus just, indulging in a fantasy. And that's invaluable.
That makes total sense. So if anemoia is about longing for the past, our next word is about longing for something else. Outward.
Then into space, yeah.
Okay, so now we shift dimensions from time to space, and we're using a really powerful German word for this, Fernweh.
Fernweh.
That's F-E-R-N-W-E-H. And the literal translation is far sickness.
And that translation is so important because this word is really defined by what it is not. Most people know the word Heimweh, which is homesickness.
Right, the pain of being away from home.
Fernweh is the absolute polar opposite. It's the deep, consuming ache of not being far enough away.
I think a lot of us would just call that wanderlust. But the sources say it's much more intense than that.
Oh, much more. Wanderlust is more of a gentle desire, like I'd like to travel someday. Fernweh is described almost as a physical need, a compulsion.
Like an ache in your chest.
A genuine restlessness, yeah. It's this feeling that a core part of you needs new places, new experiences, just to feel whole. It's a longing for places you've never even been to.
So it's not just I need a vacation. It's more like I have this intense, immediate need to walk the streets of a city I've only ever seen in a book.
Yes, or to stand under mountains you've only read about. It's a yearning for the unknown landscape. That's the key.
That feels very romantic, with a capital R.
It has deep roots in German Romanticism, for sure. That whole tension between the safety of home and the infinite, maybe dangerous possibility of the unknown world.
But that raises a question, doesn't it? Could Fernweh just be a fancy word for escapism?
That's a fair challenge, and that's where having the specific word really helps you figure it out for yourself.
How so?
Well, if you just feel restless, you might think, oh, I need a new hobby. But if you recognize that specific geographical pull as Fernweh, you realize the solution probably involves motion, distance.
So it's about the motivation. Are you running from something or being pulled towards something?
Precisely. If you're using travel to flee your present, that's escapism. But if you feel this powerful active pull to seek the unknown, that's Fernweh. And that often leads to real growth.
Like when you're staring at a map of, I don't know, Patagonia, and you feel this wave of Fernweh so strong, you actually start looking up flights that same night.
Yes, it's an active force. It's not passive. And in our modern world of remote work and, everything being so connected and maybe a little too safe, that feeling of Fernweh can be the primal urge to just step outside the bubble and test yourself against the world.
Okay, so we've covered a longing for the past with Anemoia and a longing for distant places with Fernweh. Let's talk about a state that's not about longing, but about arrival, about perfect peace.
The third dimension, the spiritual or transcendent.
Our final term for this deep dive is a really beautiful adjective, Elysian. Elysian.
This one takes us straight to the absolute peak of contentment.
And it comes from Greek mythology, right? From Elysium.
That's right. Elysium was basically paradise. The beautiful, perfect afterlife reserved for heroes, a place of eternal, perfect peace.
So when we use Elysian today, we're describing something that's heavenly, blissful.
All of those, but the nuance is really important here. It's not just happy or nice.
Oh, more than that.
It's a state of the highest bliss. It describes a moment or an experience that feels so perfect, so peaceful, it seems almost too beautiful to be part of our normal, messy reality.
And it often feels a bit fragile because of that, like it can't last.
Exactly. It's an ideal state. I think of those rare moments where all the noise just drops away and everything you're sensing, the light, the sounds, it all just clicks into place and you feel completely at one with the world.
Like sitting in a perfect summer garden at just the right time of day and everything feels complete.
That's a perfect example. Or hearing a piece of music that's so moving it feels like it stops time. That's an Elysian experience.
I remember hearing a choir once in a huge cathedral, and the sound filled the space in a way that it felt like it belonged to another world. That was truly Elysian.
Yes. See, having that word allows you to properly honor and remember that moment. If you just call it great, you kind of diminish the memory, don't you?
You do, yeah.
But if you tag it in your mind as illusion, you recognize it as a moment that touched something sublime, a glimpse of absolute tranquility.
It's the difference between just noticing a pleasant feeling and actually cataloging a peak spiritual moment.
It is. It helps you recognize when your inner world and the outer world align in this absolutely perfect way.
So let's pull this all together. Let's synthesize what this trio of words really gives you.
We've covered 3 words for 3 dimensions of human thought. We have anemoia, which is a longing focused on an idealized time.
Then Fernweh, the
Yeah.
compulsion focused on unexplored space.
And finally, Elysian, a state of perfect peace that touches the spiritual.
So what does having this knowledge actually mean for you, the learner? Why is this vocabulary so important for self-awareness?
Because it lets you move beyond emotional generalization. I mean, if you only have a word like restless or sad, you treat every cause the same.
Right.
But if you can identify a feeling as anemoia, you can understand its root cause. You can see you're idealizing the past, and that stops you from, say, making a bad decision based on a romantic fantasy.
And with Fernweh, you can tell the difference between needing a fundamental change of scenery and just being unhappy with your job.
Exactly. Are you running from something or are you being pulled towards something new? That clarity helps you make huge life decisions. A sabbatical, a move, or just recognizing a deep need for exploration.
And recognizing an Elysian moment.
Lets you consciously savor it.
Yeah.
It creates a mental template for what profound peace actually feels like for you. You stop letting the best moments of your life just slip by unnamed.
It feels like the real takeaway is that emotional intelligence requires linguistic intelligence.
It absolutely does.
If you only use blunt words for your feelings, you're only going to have blunt, poorly understood experiences. So here's the challenge. The next time you encounter something evocative, an old sepia-toned photo, a story about a faraway place, a beautiful piece of music, just pause. Take a second and check your emotional thermometer.
See if you can detect that strange ache of Anemoia or that powerful pull of Fernweh.
And really think about the power of having this precise language. It's like dressing your thoughts in high-quality clothes. It fundamentally changes how you experience the world.
It's not about sounding smart, it's about becoming smarter about yourself.
Because having a precise language for these quiet emotions, that's the first real step towards self-awareness. It's the difference between being vaguely dragged around by your feelings.
And actually knowing them and being able to guide your longings. Until next time, keep diving deep.